Check, check, check.
Good morning, welcome to
Check, check.
our General Assembly for the testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Is that better? We have 10 $100 Visas and MasterCard, 5 of each. So if you put your name, cell phone, email, box number, house number, you could win. No, just put your name and phone number. Marital status has been set. Put that down too. Resume, if you have a resume, put it in. Right here on a yellow sheet of paper. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. So I'm handing out, put your name and phone number, put it in the draw, you'll have a chance to win $100 MasterCard or Visa, help you out with your Christmas shopping. This guy's prepared as a pen.
My stats, you see them? That cop said all these are all down. Everything is down. He's gonna give me a different report of the ones that are convicted and what happened to them, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got those from the staff sergeant on
Do
Wednesday.
you want to talk about that?
Yeah, he can. Okay,
I'll
can
just mention
reiterate
these.
on it.
Include that in your report.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him he can hang on to those, and the next ones are lower than this. They're way down.
This is up to September 30th.
Yeah.
The ones that come out end of December and January, we're gonna sit down with him. Me, him, and the Justice Committee. We're gonna sit down. And then
you can mention it.
he's willing to come sit in chief and council meetings too.
Oh, yeah.
At staff sergeant every
there?
second other meeting or something.
We'll put them on once a month.
Yeah.
Even that, yeah. Then you can update.
So we'll be starting strongly right away here. We're just getting our cameras ready, our mics ready, our laptops ready. We're going to be going pretty quick here, but just to let you know, put your name in for a draw. I'd like to thank Tony McMahon for coming out and helping us with our live stream, bringing us up to date with technology. And also I'd like to thank Jonas for helping the school ready for our General Assembly and everybody for coming out this morning. And part of our comprehensive community plan is called engagement. We talk about getting everybody involved and everybody opinion is worth something. So our plan is, we're planning for 25 years down the road. we should have a first draft by end of January where we work hard on it. So things are looking up, but change is takes time and process and also takes resources. I was in Prince Edward Island at the National Navigators Workshop, which all navigators attend from across Canada. The funding formula for INAC is still the same. We still got to work with the dollars that INAC provides for this program. And Cote is a very big band, and we're doing a job that nobody ever did before, and we're coming across things that nobody ever experienced before. So Arlene and I are doing the best to get this project, make it successful as possible. So, and we're just waiting for more people to come in. And guys coming in, put your name in for $100 MasterCard or Visa. Door prizes throughout the day, and you got to be present to win. So if you're going out for a smoke, let somebody know. Other than that, we're just about ready to roll in a few minutes.
Testing. You all ready to go, Tony? You're ready to go, Okay, we're going to be starting in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We're not in the way. Maybe they can put it higher.
Good morning. Welcome to the band assembly. If you come and see us and put your name and phone number on this piece of paper here and put it in the draw, you'll have a chance to win a $100 MasterCard or Visa. We'll be making door prizes throughout the day. So you gotta be present to win. So make sure you put your name in, help you with your Christmas shopping. Oh, and also we have a sign-in sheet here. If you could sign your name and address, phone number, contact us.
Okay. Yep. Darrell.
Can you please return the pens? We only have a few.
Waiting for Jerry.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to get started here. I'd like to welcome you all to our band assembly.
One of our band members is fundraising for medical purposes. You see AJ, he's selling cards for $20. And as soon as he sells, the draw will be made. So help him out and buy a card. You're rich.
Thanks for cutting me off. It's okay, Robbie. Get that mic off him. Alrighty. Like I said, welcome. We'll get an opening prayer from Elder Reg Sebright. WH. So we're going to see if we have some more chairs here. Somebody wants to help put them out. Jonas up front here.
Good morning for the ones that are coming late. We have door prizes here, so put your name and phone number. We'll be drawing throughout the day. Their MasterCard or Visa worth $100, so definitely help you out with your shopping. So make sure you put your name and phone number. And we also have a sign-in sheet, so take a moment to come and sign in. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Still hear me, Tony? All right, I'd like to thank the elders for the prayer. I'd like to thank the drum group for the wonderful song. Like Robbie said, we have some draws there. If you didn't sign your name, put it up. I'd like to thank Ron Maurice for donating the gift certificates. I'd like to thank Tony Cote McNabb from T4E that's doing the live streaming to our off-reserve band members. Our director of operations at this time is in Regina because her sister's in ICU, and I told her to just be with the family, you know, so keep Sylvia Popwich in prayer. Okay, good morning. How's everybody? Good day, beautiful day. After my opening remarks, we'll just close the meeting down. Big fella wants to go home. All right, so I'm just going to do some opening comments in regards to since our last. Can you hear me in the back? Good, clear. Okay. So just an update on operations and how we got things up to date. You know, on the financial side, you know, we finally got all our financial pictures on Cote Resources and the Lodge, the Prickle Point and Marina, all up to par, and Slopiak, and then we'll be doing a report on that. Our land leases over the past spring, we had new leaseholders, so we had an increase in cost per acre, so we generated a little bit more revenue in regards to our land leases. And we had also we had some upgrade on our capital equipment, which is the IE, the grader, the backhoe, and we also did some training with the operators that was put on by Yorkton. The one good thing too is we purchased a charter bus. You know, we know how important it is to have a charter bus for our youth, you know, to take them to their hockey games, or even if any other groups in Cote community would like to use this charter bus, that's what it's for. And we also took our elders on a trip to Edmonton, so, you know, we made use of it. In recreation, our minor hockey teams, they all got new uniforms. They all got the same uniforms, you know, they look so good, and they're so proud of these uniforms. We also got jackets, you know, just to make them look professional. You know, and it's really great to see a lot of the people coming out to watch the hockey games. You know, and the more the merrier. We're always looking for volunteers to come and help. And also, you know, they're starting to do a little bit fundraising for themselves, which is, you know, I really appreciate the people that are taking the initiative to start raising money. You know, instead of always depending on a band to always pay for them. And we have we're working on a new constitution. I don't think the band ever had a constitution. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But we are working on a constitution and an election act, which are in the works. And we'll be presenting this in the new year in 2018 for review, and to just to get some input from the membership. You know, it's really important to have that constitution because, you know, we can be able to govern ourselves. You know, we need to establish some kind of governance where we don't have to rely on always asking for permission to do things. You know, we can also, you know, set a standard for our next generation of leaders. We have a new landfill that's going to be in the works, you know, for the environmental safety of the community. The old landfill, you know, was just so messy, and, you know, and we got an environmental study done on it, which was paid by INAC, you know, and they're going to be providing a new landfill for us, so it's not going to cost us any money. Education, I was doing some education discussions with T4E. You know, we're working on having our own education curriculum, you know, this is going to be such a great step forward for Chief Gabriel School, because right now with the amount of money that they're operating on, you know, it really doesn't meet their needs, you know, and it's very important that we keep up with the capital items in the school, and also to bring in new projects and new. We're going to give the education portfolio officers or the school board a chance to develop a curriculum that they think they should bring into the community based on treaty and our traditions and our language. You know, this is a great opportunity. This might happen in 2018 with the first wave funding. Child welfare, it's another thing that we've been discussing with Health Canada. You know, we want to keep our children home. We're tired of seeing our children taken away. So we're in discussion with ICFS, the province, the feds, YTC. You know, we know that a lot of the families in our Cote community, both on and off reserve, have issues with their children being taken away. And this is something that we want to work towards, you know, that we can handle that ourselves. You know, I didn't like the statement that the provincial minister made in regards to saying that she had jurisdiction over all children, and that included our children. And I told her, you know, like, I don't appreciate that. You know, I think we can look after our own children ourselves. You know, we always had ICFS. I remember growing up as a kid, you know, like the grandparents that we had, or the aunties or uncles, were even adopted. I shouldn't say adopted, but you know, a lot of the mothers took us as their own children. You know, and they always looked after us. We were always home. So we want to try to get away from that residential school stuff and that 60 scope that we've been dealing with in the past. And we have a youth center, you know, that's in the works right now, and we thank the health committee for that. I know they'll probably report on that. You know, we've got funding for that. It's based on donations, and we recently got a donation from the Yorkton Ministerial Association of $2,800 to be put towards that. Where that $2,800 come was they had a Good Friday service in Yorkton, and they asked me to go and share a Good Friday message, so I went and shared the message. And the money that was raised from there was given to the Cote Youth Project. And then Corey Osuk, who's a child advocate for the province, he spoke at the Yorkton Prayer Breakfast, and the money that he raised there too was donated to the Cote Youth Center. So the amount that was combined from those two events was $2,800, which we really appreciate. And I know that that youth center is going to do a lot of good for our youth. And we're talking about ACDEV initiatives. I know our ACDEV officer will be doing a report. We want to establish a corporation, you know, where we separate the politics from the ACDEV initiatives, because, you know, from the past, that's what we learned. You know, it just doesn't work. We have that Cote oil and gas project that we're still continuing to negotiate with some investors, you know. With the price of oil that's kind of going a little higher and higher each day, you know, it makes it makes more sense that we should try to do something with that. You know, and we got Ed Lovin that's working on that, and we have some Cote market with possible new additions, maybe a gas bar. I'm at what you call it. Adding a garage to it, because we want somebody to start fixing our own vehicles, and you know we know that the prices are a little higher in the other communities, and why not put some of our people to work that are also good mechanics? You know, that's one thing about the capital workers. They saved us a lot of money in regards to repairing the machinery, compared to if we actually took it out to the garages. They probably charge about 3-4 times what it really costs to fix it. We're working on that elders group. We have a couple elders here that sit on that, and Keitha was a part of that. And a youth group is in development. You know, we're going to still try to get resources. You know, this is some of the things that we really want to establish. We really want to get more involved with the elders and the youth to give us ideas on what kind of planning we should do to increase the services that we have in Cote. Not only in Cote, but also off reserve. We like to get some input from them. And that's why we have the community navigators. They are the ones gathering all this information so that we can set a 25-year plan for our community. We did some, we have security in our community, and Joe Cote's been doing a good job. He's going to do a report on that later on. We have a great working relationship with the RCMP. You can see that we did some sports grounds cleanup too as well. You know, we want to get some new diamonds for youth and senior ball teams. We just recently had a powwow here. You know, it was very successful. We had a lot of dancers and drum groups, and there was standing room only in here. And the town of Kamsack, the mayor and some of our council were here as well. And we had FSIN representation. And you know, it was the theme of that powwow was healing our communities, and we'd like to thank Robert and Jonas and the powwow committee for putting on such an awesome show. We had over 200 dancers and 12 drum groups? And 12 drum groups. I was going to put a drum group in there, but 13 is an odd number. And we also had a health summit in Kamsack, a 2-day health summit, which was for the 3 communities. And what really touched me about that health summit was when we got the youth from the school here to come and participate in the workshops. And the youth talked about what they would like to see in Cote. And some of the things that really hit me was they don't want to see no drugs. They don't want to see no gangs. They don't want to see no violence, no lateral violence. They want to see healthy people. They want to see healthy leaders. You know, and that's why we want to concentrate on what the youth are trying to present to us. You know, that's why I said, you know, we have this great working relationship with the RCMP, and things have toned down, and Joe will do a presentation on that. The Peepaw issues, you know, we heard about what Peepaw is being turned into a park, you know, and we are working to save the natural terrain of medicines. And the 3 reserves, Cote, Key, and Kisakos, we're going to be having a meeting in January. I don't know the place yet. Maybe it might be in Keys, might be in Kisakos, might be in Cote. But the 3 chiefs are going to get together, and we're going to sit down with whoever is interested to come into that meeting to voice, or maybe give us a little history on Peepaw, so that we can keep it the way it is, because I think they already did the first reading on that. You know, and there's people that are putting on workshops as well in Cote, Keys, Coast and Key, you know, and you know, it's really good to see that, but I'd really like to see more of our people attendees, you know, just to come out, you know, and hear some of the testimonies of some of these people that changed their lives. You know, and that's what it's really, and that's what it's all about. You know, we like to work towards that, the healthy community living, the style that we want, the restoration. And you know, we in Chief and Council, you know, we want to establish a drug-free governance. So today, in front of all of you, the membership and the people that are live streaming, you know, the Chief and Council agreed on random drug testing. So today we're going to do a random drug test. We're going to do it all in front of you guys, just to prove to you guys that we're a healthy Chief and Council. And we're going to do that today. I think, yeah, Burton is at the back, so if, after my report, all the Chief and Council can go to the back and just do your thing. Pee only. So we'll do that today, and then we'll post the results. Let you know that we are a healthy Chief and Council. And the reason why we're doing this is we need to set a future for our next leaders and workforce of the future. We want you guys to know that, you know, healthy leaders make a healthy community. We're working on a communication strategy, a website, you know, Cote First Nation website. Robbie and I are doing that. We want to get newsletters out. You know, we want to get more and more involved with the members, both on and off reserve. We have a cattle operation that's going to be in the works in the spring, and possible buffalo as well. You know, the buffalo is not going to cost us anything. You know, they're gonna build a fence for us for nothing as well. You know, so we want to bring some buffalo into our community, and the cattle operation, which the Lands is working on, we postponed it till the spring. And also, we've been leasing our land quite a bit, and I know back in the day we used to always farm our own land, you know, and it really did generate a lot of money, and it created a lot of jobs. So that's one of the things that we want to probably do is not start something small. You know, it doesn't have to be the whole land. You know, we want to start, you know, farming our own land. I know we got some farmers in our community that maybe can help us, you know, that even work their own land as well. We have church services at the band hall, you know, and also attend a lot of the cultural events, the cultural ceremonies, you know, just to show, you know, as a leader, you know, I really appreciate the prayers that are being said from all denominations. You know, I had a chance to go to Israel here last month, and it was an amazing trip. And what I did there was I went to the Wailing Wall. It's called a praying wall, the Western Wall. And there's nationalities from all over the world that go there, and they put all their prayer requests in the wall, and they just pray. So what I did was I took the name of Cote First Nation, all the members, both on and off reserve, and I put it in that wall, and I prayed for our nation. I prayed for our nation for healing and restoration, and to be delivered from addictions, you know, and to live healthy. I did that for our people, for our community. And I also prayed for the other First Nations right across Canada. You know, it was such a amazing feeling, you know, just to, like, my hands were heating up as I was praying on that wall. My hands were just heating up because I was feeling the energy from the other people that were praying as well. You know, so you're all on the Western Wall, all your names, all your children, all your grandchildren, you guys are on that wall, so people will be praying for you all over the world. And we're working with the town of Kamsack, Key Band, and Keys Coast, and RCMP. You know, it's about time, I think, we start working together, you know, to develop partnerships and to move forward here. And I know some of the elders were talking about designating some land for traditional use. So I told them, you know, go look out there, whichever piece of property you think, you know, that you guys want designated for your traditional lands. We will designate that for your use, and we won't bother it. We won't work it up. We'll just leave it natural. And that's where you guys can have your traditional ceremonies or whatever traditional component that you guys want to work on. And this is some of the things that the elders talked about. We've come a long way. Chief and Council have been working diligently. You know, we may have some issues at the table once in a while, but you know, at the end of the day, we come to a consensus where we want to move forward. And you know, we're not a perfect government. There will be some mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes, and we can just implement better things. You know, because everything works out in the end. You know. And you know, one thing about this, you know, what's one thing that I find amazing for 2018 is after all this work that we've done in 2017 and all the negotiating and updates and bringing everything up to par, policies, and, you know, working on a constitution, the Election Act, and, you know, and community navigators, you know, gathering all this information so that we can establish a plan for Cote First Nation. We have a chance to amend our trusts. This is the time that we can amend our trust. We've been reviewing the trust. We've been looking at the trust and finding out what can we do. What can we do to increase services? What can we do to create employment? what can we do to empower our people both on and off reserve? Well, some of the things that we've been talking about was consolidating our loans and increasing amortization so that over a period of time we generate more revenue based on our mortgage payments or our loan payments. And we want to invest in both, in our community, both off and on reserve. We want to create urban offices, maybe in Regina and Saskatoon, because that's some of the things that we heard from our people in Regina and our people in Saskatoon, is that they would like to have an urban office so that they can communicate with us, not only us, but amongst themselves, where they can go there and maybe get job placements, resume writing, education, all these little things that the urban office is doing right now in Regina, but sometimes I think some of our people are left out. So I think it makes it more sensible that maybe we can have our own office, and where we can keep in contact with our people, and where we can develop a plan of action with each and every one of them. And I was talking about hockey with our young children, and you see how old our rink is, it's over 40 years old. I think it's done its purpose. I walked around the rink there and I was looking at the base of the beams, and they're all rusting out, it might be a little dangerous for our children to be playing there in the near future. So we want to get a new rink, which will be built. But the company that we hire, that we tender, will employ our people so that our people can build a rink. And we want to develop a plan where the seating, the dressing rooms, and the waiting area, will fit to our specs. And where we want to put the rink is where the old Cote school is. Where the old Cote band store used to be, right by the band office. I think that'll be a perfect place because it's high. Where the present rink now, it's low, and that's a lot of water comes into that area, and it kind of floods out the rink in the springtime. Plus all the services are there, the in-services, the sewer, the water, the electrical, the phone lines are all there. And plus it's solid. So that's something I think some of the fans were pretty excited about. And another thing that we do with the amending the trust, I want to renovate all the houses. I want to renovate every house in Cote, which will employ our people. I want our people to work on our houses. I want our people to develop little contract groups, and you guys will be doing the work, because our houses are older than a hill, some of them, and maybe we can demolish a few. We want to tackle that mold issue, the overcrowding. And also, with renovating all the houses, we were also talking about new housing built by our people. No more of these RTMs. I think we should build on site, because we know what we're getting. And we know what kind of material that we will be ordering will be our specs, because sometimes, with those RTMs, because I work in housing. I worked in housing for over 30 years. Sometimes what you get is not what you expect. And it can cause a lot of problems. But I know there's a lot of people out here that want to work, because that's all they talk about. And the timing is right. Because 2018, I think it's going to be a great year. And we were talking about single and senior housing. Like one of our elders here, he needs a house. These are the things that we want to address. And I know there's a lot of single people too that need houses. And that's what we want to plan. That's what we want to establish, this community plan. That's why the community navigators are gathering all this information. Infrastructure improvement. Our band hall. Is everybody tired of looking at the way our band hall looks? Why don't we fix that up? I think our staff would be a little bit more enthusiastic too if they had a band hall that's been renovated because it's leaking right now. You know, we don't want to upgrade our computer system right now because the roof leaks. But we got the lines already connected to the hall. So we want to renovate the hall. We want the bathrooms. We want to get new computers. You know, we want to upgrade the internet. The band hall and the recplex. We want to do a recplex too. We want to put a kitchen in there. We want to put some seating in there. You know, and we want to fix the bathrooms and put some showers in there so that the kids can shower after they play. An office, you know, with more sports equipment. I talked about the sports grounds. And we were talking about the powwow. You know, the powwow. You know, we had it in here, and there's very little room. But we're thinking of moving the powwow into the summertime or late fall. But we want to build an arbor. We want to build an arbor so that we have our own arbor for our powwows or for whatever we want to use it for. It would be there. And also that church, the old church there by the band hall, we want to fix that up. Because I think Cote needs a church as well. You know, people like to go to church. You know, we have church services at the band hall, and you know, and a lot of people come, from 10 to 60 people. So we want to get that old hall. You know, the Subway clan was nice enough to give us that old church, but we got to fix it up. You know, and I really appreciate that. 2 more counselors can go if they want to go there, or do you want to hear the whole report? Okay. I'm just about done. And we want to put different playgrounds in different areas of the reserve, not only in Badgeville, because we have kids out in Tinyville, we have kids up east, we have kids across the river. So we want to put some playgrounds, spread them out so that the kids will have a place to play. We want to have it fenced in. You know, so that if there's anybody there that can supervise the kids, you know, at least they'll be in one place. Land purchase, you know, we want to purchase more land because people want to come home, so we have to increase our land base. You know, farm equipment, you know, and gravel businesses. You know, this is all to employ our people. I know our people are tired of doing nothing. You know, I think it's about time we start putting our people to work, our young people. And even, you know, it's not only geared to young people. If some of the old people are willing to work, you know, we'll find something for you guys to do. And we also want to do economic development in the urban centers. And we have an economic development officer. He's searching out what we can do. Yeah, what he's going to be doing a report on that. And we want to increase post-secondary and trades to subsidize the shortfall that we have. You know, it's frustrating when some of the kids don't get any funding from us because of the shortage of dollars. But I think with that new system that's coming from the federal government that we're working on, we might meet the needs, but we also want to help also by putting some of our own monies in. And we want to build a compound for capital equipment and housing supplies. Medical and health needs, you know, some people need special equipment. You know, I get some, like sometimes, you know, wheelchairs or speech, those little computers that help them with the speech. Those things are $10,000. You know, and some of our kids need that. And some of our people need wheelchairs. Some of our people need upgrades to their home so that it'll be more safely for them to get around and more accessible because the units need upgrading to meet their needs. We're going to do lighting in the community and upgrades. Road upgrades, you can see how our roads are. That's why we were talking about the gravel stuff. So we've been working hard, you know, we want to start this ratification next month. And there's also a payout that was discussed to help us get this ratified. We are going to present a number, but we'll do that at the ratification because we're still crunching numbers right now. Chief and Council is not going to benefit from any of this. None of us are going to benefit from this financially. The people that are going to benefit from this are going to be you guys, because we want to start investing in our membership. We want to start creating employment. We want to start restoring our community. Aren't we tired of looking the way our houses look? You know, the way our infrastructure looks. Aren't you guys tired of looking at that? I think it's about time we do a whole new facelift. And we have a time, and this is the time that we can do it. That's why I said 2018 is, you know, it's going to be an exciting year. You know, I got to thank my chief and council and the staff that worked diligently together planning on this, you know, and also some input from some of the elders that sat in the meetings with us. And I'm going to get a couple of them to speak here right away, you know, just to verify what I'm talking about here. And we had our management action plan and policies to complete. You know, we're having a chief and council and staff retreat next month. You know, there's some issues that were brought to the table that we are going to deal with. You know, and you know, it's always good to hash out stuff, because you know, like, how else are we going to get any better if we don't hear the things from you guys to help us better govern you guys? You know, because I know you guys have a lot of ideas, and that's the reason why we're having these band membership meetings. You know, it's because I know, you know, when I talk to people out there, you know, and I know some of the chief and council, some of the council do, they talk to people, but you know, this is where we have a chance to bring it all together, talk about it, set a plan, and move on. But with the amending of the trust and with all the things I talked about, you guys will be informed on a daily basis. You guys will be presented with the financial statements and what was spent on what we want to invest, showing that you guys are in control of it, but you have given us the authority to go ahead and do this investment, which I know is going to be such a benefit to the people, because, you know, when we create employment, we're going to create a healthy environment. When we fix all our homes, we're going to have healthy homes, and the children will be affected by it. I know we were talking about drugs, alcohol, and all that, but Jose is going to talk about that. We want to strive for a drug and alcohol-free community. Some of the elders suggested that as well. And like I said, you know, it may not be a perfect governance, but we are working toward equal opportunity. Equal opportunity is, what I mean is, I want everybody to be involved in this investment, both on and off reserve. We want to try to create employment even off reserve, not only on reserve, because off reserve is just as much a part of the trust as we are on reserve. Because I know off reserve is very limited to some of the dollars that they get to survive in our communities. But maybe we can help them out somehow. You know, the more that we generate, the more money that we generate, the more dividends we can pay to our membership. You know, we're going to be having our audit statement. You know, you'll notice that there may have been an increase in our deficit. It's because we had that Christmas payout, which is close to $800,000. But we did a lot of cutbacks. BMA is down, and I know finance will talk about that. Ed Schlopiak will discuss that everything's been brought up to date. It may be a qualified audit, but there's a reason for that, and he'll discuss that as well. But you know, our finances are in great shape. You know, Dawn can attest to that when she does her report. You know, we've come a long ways in a year. So this is the first band assembly. I think we'll be having program heads give reports, and I'm really proud of our program heads. You know, they've done so much with so little, and they made impacts on a lot of people. You know, we try to keep the politics away from the administration. We don't like to be going in there and being the bosses. We have a boss for that. What we want to do, we want to do the political end. But we also want to present what we're doing as political leaders to you as the membership, so that we can get that feedback from you guys, so it'll be better to develop the plan that we have for you guys. I'm really, you know, I'm really optimistic. I know we're going in the right direction. I really appreciate all the input that I've been getting from the people that I've talked with, from the people that I visited. You know, I even visit people in a hospital. You know, they're really happy to see me when I go visit them in the hospital. I know I did a lot of the funerals as well, with the help of the elders. You know, so you know, like I really want to help out as much as I can, while I can. I know there may be a lot of frustration out there at this time, but I know there's a brighter future ahead. You know, I can see the change out there already. I can see some of the changes that I know that you guys see as well. You know, but we're always open to anybody to talk to us. You know, I really feel good. I really feel good today. The prayers that the elders spoke, and the song that was sung, and the prayers that I said this morning. We had church service last night. We can only look up to the Creator to help us, guide us with wisdom, and to come together. Things are happening, and things are going to be happening even more. But the biggest part is we're going to be investing. We're going to be investing in you guys. And I really appreciate the work that's being done. You guys are going to be aware of everything that we're doing. So next month, we're just going to have amended trust meetings, and we're going to put our plan to you guys for ratification. So with that, those are my opening comments. I was supposed to only speak for 15 minutes, but you know, we have a lot here, and we're going to make a couple draws. One draw for a $100 gift certificate. Get one of the elders there.
What if they're entered?
Oh, I'm not entered, that's right. Robert Severide, 5980208. Robert.
You got to thank him.
So with that, those are my comments. So I'm going to get a couple of our elders that wanted to say a few words here. I'll get Blue Man first, and then Reggie.
Good morning, everybody. I said good morning, everybody. That's better. That's better. Yeah, I just want to thank the drum group for the song, and Nichimaga, yeah, Anamiat. Okay, you know, you don't need your to quail, so give out time. We got a bit of a snort. Amano, as I need got to man mano. Begin to eat up and go, go. We got the gentleman. Can I get old Janim in the same agat? Job at the ming. I always say, let's not be like those old Muppets sitting up in a gallery, always complaining about something that's not being done. I know that I moved to town. Now I'm responsible for all my bills. I can't come to the reserve and say, you want to fix my home? No, but I see that too, because I owned a home one time. And the work I put into that home, it cost money. But you know, I was damn proud of it. Instead of coming to the chief and council and say, I need a new doorknob, or I need a window fixed. I'm hoping that the people can become more responsible for their homes. Not always racing to the band office and always asking the chief and council and then complaining about it. Let's be responsible. Let's take care of our own homes. Then when we take care of our own homes, then the children will see that. They'll become more responsible. Like even at the schools here, the teachers do their best. And a lot of times, when the children are suspended, the parents come here and raise Cain. No. Find out the real reason instead of blaming the teachers. But I see that, and I hear that. Manu, and that's on our people. Let's listen. And what I'm seeing, what I hear from the chief and council, what they're attempting to do within the next few years they're in council. They're doing their best. There's been some changes, yes. But again, change is always hard because there's resistance. And who's the resistors? Well, I know some, and I hear some. But let's begin taking responsibility for our children, for our community, for our buildings, and for the school most of all. Let's see our children get an education. That's what I want to see. Like I know I have a grandson who's playing hockey this afternoon. So when I'm done here, I have to leave because it's one of my support things that I do for my grandchildren. I support them all because they love to see me at their hockey games and they really want to give their best. They do the best they can. Some have, some don't, but they need to develop. And the more programming that is going to be happening, like even what's going on now, like the lunch here that they provide here for the students. That's awesome to see. And the soup kitchen. You know, that was a dream of mine for about 7 years ago when I was working for YTC. I made a suggestion here to some of the council members. Let's feed our people. As a lot of our people have a tough time surviving on SA. Having a rough time for their family to provide. But now I see that with the soup kitchen, these people are really giving their best. And I go there, and I like to hear what I see, seeing some of our elders there, and they have a table for us. Sometimes they serve us, but we're old enough to serve ourselves. I can still walk, not handicapped yet. But that's one of the greatest things that I see. And let's continue that. Let's put that aside, what we have. Some of those feelings, the resentments. Let's put those down because that's what some of the barriers are for us. We create barriers and there's no division. The only division is, if I have a division, it's because of me. Because how I think and how I feel. But I know I've come a long ways. I want to work for the community. I'll do my best. I do my best on the street with these people who are having difficulties with addictions. But I also hear people putting them down. And I'm the one that stands up for them. They're not junkies. They're not slammers. They are people with feelings and who need support, just to even say hello to them, or even offer them a coffee. To work with them, work hard. Because I know that I have family members who are into the drugs, into the gangs. But all I can do is I tell them that all I can do for you guys right now is pray. Because if I tell you something, you may not choose to listen. You will continue what you do. But hopefully one day you will realize what you're doing. You have children. Please do not bring them up in that environment. I don't want to go up to my little grandchild and ask, where's your dad? Oh, he's in jail. And yet that's what I hear yet today. You know, we need fathers to help be a part of the children's lives. Be a part of it, even if you've separated. Be a good father. And I know that I was called a deadbeat one time, deadbeat dad. You know, it's a new term they use for men who separate from their wives and move on and don't even look after the children. But today I see a young man who I'm very proud to say, he's in England. He's got 3 boys and he's raising them himself and he's doing a damn good job, and I'm proud of him. And those are the kind of people we need. The ones that will step forward and give their best, no matter what. I live on a pension, but you know, I'm sure make it stretch. Because I have grandchildren who also have demands. And I try and fulfill those. Sometimes I have to say no, but I always make up for it in a different way. And that's being there for them. To show that I love them and I care for them. I'm sure all of you have the same thoughts and feelings here, the ones that have grandchildren. Not putting them down or calling them names. I hear that too. Some of the grandparents who put their grandchildren down. Calling them names. So we need to set an example to them. Help our children. Be a part of their lives. Even if they're not with you. Communication is an important thing in life. And to love. Love. What is love? Learning it. I know we come from an era where a lot of it was taken away from us. But that can change. I made some changes. I know what love is because I've been in love how many times? Not enough times, big fella says, but that's his opinion. But I just wanted to say, let's look at the chief and council. Let's support them in how we can, encouraging them to move forward and to be a part of it. Then we can look back and say, hey, I was there, and I'm proud to see that it's been accomplished. A few years back in the 1970s, I always looked at it, and I still think of it, when Cote Reserve was the #1 reserve in Saskatchewan. Let's go for that. Let's get that back. That leadership role we had. But you know, it took a lot of work and diligence. I was a part of it, but I was an alcoholic too. But I tried to work hard, despite being put down, being called a hopeless case. But I'm not. Today, I have a value, I have a belief system, and I'm proud of where I am today. Despite what other people think, well, that's theirs. I know who I am. I know what I am. I have an identity. And I'm a Cote First Nation band member. And that's what I'm proud of. Doesn't matter what other people think from the outside, because we always do, they make fun of us yet. They call us down. They don't trust us. And I guess that's one of the areas too we need to build on is trust. Trust our own intuition. trust the people that want to help us and to believe it, because they're also gifted. A lot of our people have many gifts, and let's exercise them for the better. Let's not hurt one another anymore. We've been there too long. Let's make a change. Even though the sun isn't shining today, well, it's still shining up above. Mano kami nung ichitame. Mano, kautapin namin eh. Yung mga chigoche, nanagatoin sigat. Yung wait, kina. You know, I heard an elder say that from Greenland, and he asked what was the longest journey in the world. What was the longest journey? Of course, there's other people saying Hawaii, Germany, and all that. And he just said it from the heart to the mind. From the heart to the mind. And if we have that, if we practice that, then it's going to be a different way. Because no matter what, the children that we meet, and a lot of those children call me Papa Blue now, because I've given that permission, because I want them to show that I do care about them. I have feelings. And my cousins, my nieces and nephews, just to be an example for them, how I speak. And I tell it like it is. I don't hold back anymore. I'm not afraid to speak. And even if somebody wants to tell me, you know, you shouldn't talk like that. Well, when you say should, then I will talk. And I will speak to it. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of the dark, because what I see during the day is what's there at nighttime. But let's stop hurting one another now. It's been going on too long. Let's work together. Let's help one another. Let's have an open mind and let's have an open heart. That's what counts. I want to thank the chief. How he's so open-minded going to ceremonies and church. And that shows leadership. That he does not create a barrier because of his own values and his beliefs. And same with the rest of the council. I know the chief. I grew up with him. He worked for me too when I was running a pool room. One day I come to work 9 o'clock in the morning and they're all getting up from the floor all over. They had a party there. But that was just part of it. See, we live and learn. I have a young brother here who I love very dearly. And I have another brother. There's only 3 of us in my family. My brother and my sister. Then I have an uncle and an auntie. And on the White Oak side I have cousins and aunties. But that's what I'm proud of. I'm proud of the name. I'm proud of the relatives that I have. If I could be a part of that change, if I had a magic wand, I would do my best. I would use it to change everything around us. To have a better life, to live a better way. And for our children. And when my grandchildren grow up to be young adults, I want to be a part of their lives too. So with God willing, He will spare me the time. But that's something I leave entirely up to Him. And so with that, I want to thank you people for listening, and let's venture on for a better way of life, okay? Let's do our best. Let's do our best for the children. They count. You wait.
Check. How many weeks we guys here? We guys don't do me one much, you got eat it one. Ni po ke ko wi te ma ko ko ke ma kan ki ke to ne yo ki ke to ko to to ba ani ki to to ma ko ke go ki to mo ki ta ko ki to no ti me na to se na ta ko ti ne ni ti sa ni na ke na wa ke ma a ka me ni mo ko ne ke go ne ke go ki to wa ko ki to mo ki ta ko ke na wa ya kan ke go pa be su ni mo si o e ti wa pa ki ta we ka gi ki to wa mo pe wa sa pai sa wa we go ka no na wa to ski we ne ke go ha ko we mo tell me po ne na I greet all of you. I just spoke in the language given to us by the Creator, talking about our leadership, how they're doing their best to accomplish a better future for not only the adults, but everybody in the tribe, in the community. Tribes are doing their best to create a road for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. I've sat with these people many times in their meetings, and I thought I'd hear it's up to the people, like what my brother Roman talked about. It's up to us. They want direction off us. They're bringing forth what they have accomplished so far. And so we need to support these people, because I see a brighter future now. When we see something moving, I see something moving towards a better future for our people, our children, our grandchildren. I too have a little boy. I just finished, a couple of weeks ago, we went to Calgary, finished up our adoption, our final adoption. He's in hockey, keeps me quite busy. So I don't know, I might have to leave here in an hour or so, I'm not sure yet. Maybe my little boy's partner's mother was probably going to take them to their hockey in York today. But I'm grateful for that woman. She works so hard, and we help one another. And that's what it's all about, is to help one another, you know. And the other thing, my biggest concern, I guess, is the addiction in our community, you know. I hear these people are going to take drug testing. You know, that's the first I heard in how many years, you know. Since they're going to take a drug test as being considered an elder, I'm going to take a drug test. You know, and I encourage other people my age or so to take a drug test. So I'm going to show that I am drug-free, alcohol-free. I even quit smoking again about a month and a half ago. I left the cigarettes alone about a month ago. I left cigarettes alone for 21 years before. Alcohol now for about 30 years, 34 years. I fell off once in between that time. I ain't perfect by a long shot, but hey, you know, I do my best every day, because I listen, I look and I listen to people who talk about the right things in life. I practice my traditional values every day. I ain't perfect by a long shot, but by golly, I'm gonna make a serious effort to get there. Someday maybe I'll be perfect, I don't know. I'm gonna try, you know. And when we talk about the addiction, you know, there are many times I drove the addicts to pick up their drugs at the dealers in the community. You know, that's another area we need to talk about. Who's pushing pills, poisoning their own people, causing kids to go hungry because these people are using the kids' money to buy pills, right? You know, I was told that by my old uncle that raised me. You got to bone them. You guys will poison each other. They will be. You know, I don't bother pills, white man's pills. I go traditionally. There's one pill I take from the white man, and that's for my acid reflux condition in my stomach. That's the only pill I take. They try and give me even for antibiotics and stuff like that. I don't take those. I go to the land. I know where to find medicine that'll help my body along when I'm sick. So that's how I am. I practice my traditional ways. And I just encourage everybody, you know, let's understand our addictions. Let's understand our people. I'm a recovering addict myself. I know exactly where people are. I understand. The best thing I can do for my fellow addicts is just to be a friend. Say hello, shake a hand, give a hug. Sometimes I give a hug, I get pushed away because people are not used to that. You know, that's okay, you know. Do your part, I do my part, and that's it. And I pray for everybody every day, and I just encourage everybody else to do the same. We have a Creator. Let's use the Creator, and that's the best we can do. Thank you very much.
Hello. You guys know who I am? Oh. Okay, anyway, I'm the badgeable rat. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, we're gonna carry on here. We're gonna do a draw.
Josie, Cody, coming.
Josie, Cody, you won yourself something over there. We're gonna carry on here. What we're gonna do now is the audit. Ed is gonna come up and do his speech here. So while we're gonna hand out lunch to people, and we'll just carry on with the meeting as we hand out lunch to everybody. Eh? How does that sound? So we'll carry on. All right. Okay. We'll carry on here. Ed will do his part here. Make you guys all happy. That's the money, man. There you go, Ed.
Thank you. Good morning, Chief, Council, Elders, and band members. It's good to be here. First of all,
Stand closer to talk.
okay. Okay, can you hear me back there? Yeah, now?
This is live streaming.
Live. Oh, that's live stream. That's why I have to be here. Okay, now I get it. Yes, first of all, I just want to say that I felt very optimistic hearing the chief do his report and so forth, and the elders speak as well, so I think it speaks very well for the community. So we're here to present the audit. My name's Ed Chalupiak. We're a small accounting firm out of Regina. We got about 10 people in our office. We do mainly First Nation work. About 90% of our work is First Nation. We do audits for about 12 or 13 First Nations and consulting for a number of other ones. So what we're going to talk about is the consolidated audit. We have a PowerPoint presentation over there that you can get a copy of. So when we talk about the audits, there's like 200 pages of audits information in here. There's a number of different audits that are required, a separate audit for each business, a separate audit that CMHC requires, First Nations Trust, and so forth. But it all gets rolled up into what's called a consolidated audit. So if we were to go through this information, we would be here for a day or so. So what we've done, we'll have about a half an hour PowerPoint presentation. It's going to talk about the important information in the consolidated audit, and then if you have questions, we can answer questions at a more detailed level if we can. So with that, we're going to start the PowerPoint presentation. Technical difficulty, I guess. Okay. Do we know whose computer that is? We just have it was working there all the while everybody else was speaking. As soon as we start, it stops. I have a laptop. Yeah, I have my own laptop. Okay. We'll just hook up our own laptop.
Good morning. They're just switching laptops. Somebody hit my update button and it automatically updates all the apps that are on our laptop right now. So we'll do another door prize while we're waiting. I'll get the chief to draw his name. And the winner is Sharon Pele. Come and see me. Is she here? Sharon? Okay, sorry if you don't see me. I know she was helping wipe up the floor, so she's probably home now.
Just a little update on the drug testing there. The ones that all went and tested so far passed. The guy has the results at the back, so the ones that went through so passed. I put on Facebook that I did my drug test at the assembly. My auntie asked, "Did you test for cheese?" Oh, cheese. I said I failed the cheese test, so I don't know what I gotta do. So.
Okay, it seems like we have the computer working now, so Cindy, who's a partner of mine, is going to go through the PowerPoint presentation. Stand there so you can talk.
How do I use this?
You have to stand here so they pick it up the live streaming.
I know, but how do I use those? It won't work.
That is this way.
I have to move this down because I'm really short, so. Hi, everybody. My name is Cindy Egbert. I'm a partner with Chalupiak & Associates. And I want to thank the chief for his great opening remarks and the elders, very inspiring. Lots of information, lots of great words. Now we're going to get into the really boring number stuff. So I'm sorry, my presentation is not going to be inspiring like the others were, but hopefully it'll make sense to you. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So what we've done is, as Ed said, the audit is a lot of pages, that whole binder. We've made a PowerPoint presentation which summarizes the key points of the audit. So it's not going to give you all the details in the audit, it's going to summarize the main points in the audit. So we'll get to the first page. So we have components of a consolidated audit. Now, a consolidated audit is bringing everything that Cote does all together. So we have management's responsibility, we have an auditor's report, a statement of financial position, a statement of operations, a statement of accumulated surplus, changes in net debt, statement of cash flows, notes to the financial statements, and then detailed schedules for each section. That's in the consolidated audit, and then there is also, which we won't go through, as Ed said, we'd be here for a full day, unaudited program schedules, which are a requirement from INAC, and that lists every single department, revenues and expenses, what they do. All right, so management's responsibility, which is page 1 of the actual consolidated audit, it basically says management is responsible for the preparation of the financial statements, and the auditor is responsible for auditing the financial statements. That's basically what that full page in the audit says. Page 2, this is the auditor's report. So this is our report card on how the audit went and how the band is conducting their business, not necessarily how they are doing their programming, but what the numbers look like. So the auditor expresses an opinion on the financial statements, and the opinion lets you know how reliable the statements are. In Cote's case, the auditor's report is a qualified report. Now, the best kind of audit report is unqualified. However, don't get too upset. The reason that it was qualified is because of the Cote Resources. We have to bring Cote Resources in as it's a banned business, it's a government business, and we can't satisfy ourselves as to what the assets are in Cote Resources until it starts producing oil. we have no way of knowing if the assets are actually recorded at fair value. So that's the only qualification in the audit. Everything else, as far as band operations go, did not cause us any concern. Okay, page 3. The consolidated statement of financial position. This is a snapshot of where you are at the end of the fiscal year, and the fiscal year is March 31st. It tells you how much money's in the bank, how much is owed to you, that's called accounts receivables, how much you owe, which is accounts payable, how much you actually owe in loans and whatnot as well, and the accumulated surplus. So it's a snapshot cumulative of those numbers. So we're actually going to look at some numbers now. So, and again, this is very summarized. Your financial assets are $7.2 million, up from $6.6 last year. Your liabilities are $15 million, up from last year, $14 million. And our non-financial assets, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes, what that means, $21.6 million versus $22.9. And when those numbers are net against each other, you get an accumulated surplus of 13.2 versus 14.9 last year. So this is really summarized, and we're going to get into a little bit more detail on a couple more slides. So our financial assets is broken down to our restricted cash, and we have different types of restricted cash. Capital projects, so that's money that can only be spent on that capital project or if there's more than one happening. So we have $272,000 in capital projects. Restricted cash other is $401,000. Our restricted cash CMHC reserves, $11,867. This is a requirement by CMHC in order to fund future repairs on the CMHC homes, like roofs and new stoves and fridges and that kind of thing. Our restricted cash in the lawyer trust fund, $81,800. Our funds held in trust by federal government, $129,866, up from last year. Most people know this as Ottawa trust funds. Those are probably words that you've heard before. Ottawa trust funds, we now have to call them funds held in trust by federal government. Our accounts receivable, so amounts owed to you, $1.5 million, up considerably from last year. Due from related entities, $280,000, down considerably from last year, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Equity and related business entities, $4.3 million, up about $1 million from the prior year. And portfolio investment, and we'll talk a little bit about that, $206,000 versus $331,000. So that gives our financial assets of $7.2 million versus $6.6 last year. Does that make sense to everybody? So exciting. I'm going to ask you some questions afterwards and see if you can remember these numbers. Just kidding. Okay, so then we get into liabilities. So this is amounts that the band owes. So we have bank indebtedness. So the bank was overdrawn by $166,000 at the end of the year. We have accounts payable, so general suppliers, that kind of thing, of $2.3 million. Deferred revenue unexpended funds, $224,641. This is monies that INEC gives, INEC has different types of funding, and we explain that in the full consolidated audit. If you have monies that you haven't fully spent by March 31st, like example, post-secondary for instance, we can set it up as unexpended funds and spend it in the next year. INEC does allow that, so that's what that is. And in the consolidated audit, there's no references that will give you which programs that unexpended is for. Then we have deferred revenue, which is things like capital projects that haven't finished by the end of the year, because capital projects don't end on March 31st. So we defer the revenue to be spent in the following year or possibly 2 years. Current portion of long-term debt, $811,000. This is loan payments that are due in the fiscal year 17-18. And the current portion of CMHC mortgages, $336,914. Again, what's due in this fiscal year 17-18. And then the balance of our long-term debt and mortgages, so those amounts are due after March 31st, 2018, so 5.8 and 4.7. So we have total liabilities of $15.6 million, up from $14.6 last year. Make sense? All right. Then we have non-financial assets, and that's a big number. And basically what that is your capital assets. So you have $21.6 million in capital assets. Now that's net book value, which means we take the cost of your school, your band hall, your band office, all of these assets that you have, your housing, and they depreciate over time. So we take the cost minus what we've depreciated so far, and that gives us our net book value of what that asset is. So the net book value of your capital assets are 21 million, even though they're probably worth more, but that's in accounting what we call net book value. All right, then we have our accumulated surplus. So we have restricted surplus and unrestricted. Our restricted are capital assets of 16.5, our CMHC reserves of 1 million, our Ottawa trust funds, the funds held in trust by federal government, 129, equity and investments 4.3. That means that these amounts aren't used for operations. So then we have an operating deficit, and this is cumulative. This didn't happen just this year. This is cumulative since the beginning of time, basically. Your operating deficit of 8.7 million versus 7 million last year. So that gives us a total accumulated surplus of 13.2 versus 14.9 last year. And you'll see capital assets, if you look at the 16.5, I don't know if I can get this little pointer thing, versus the 17.3 last year. The reason there would be a decline in assets is because they've depreciated more. They depreciate every year, so the net book value goes down until such time as you actually build a new water treatment plant or new houses or whatever. Okay, so we have a consolidated statement of operations. This is a summary of the revenue and expenses for the year. So what we were looking at before was cumulative over time, and this is actually what happened in the 16-17 year versus the 15-16 year. So our total revenues in the March 31st, 2017 year are 18.4 million, up from 15.5 last year. Our total expenses are 19.9, down from last year of 20.6. So our deficit before unexpended is 1.5 million versus 5.1 the prior year. And then we took the unexpended funds we have not spent, and we take that out of the picture because we're going to spend that next year. So we have a deficit for the year of 1.7 million versus 5.1 last year. Make sense? All right. So now we get into a little bit more detail on what makes up the revenues. There's quite a bit of detail. I'm not going to read through every single number because I'll probably put everybody to sleep. But you can see that one of the biggest sources of revenue at Cote and at most bands is INAC revenue of 6.4 million. The next one would be your trust of 6.2 million. Of course, we're going to see high numbers there. Health Canada, 1.2. Your First Nations Trust, which is your quarterly gaming dollars, 1.2. So we go down to, and then CMHC has some money. We have a loss on investments in businesses of 876,000 versus a big loss the prior year. And then we have some revenue here. This is future settlement. Is Ron Maurice here? No. That he would talk to what that amount would be. And then we had deferred revenue from the prior year. We bring it into income this year, and then we take out what we've deferred this year. So all those numbers netted together gives us the 18.4 versus 15.5 from last year. Then we have expenses, and what we've done in expenses, in the consolidated audit, you will see expenses by what you would, your classifications that you would probably like to see, which would be your how much the band spent on wages, supplies, that kind of thing. That is in the consolidated audit as well, but on this page, we actually have to show it by these groupings. Our claims in Indian government, our community development, ECDEV, education. So you can see where the biggest amount of money is spent. Claims in Indian government is big, 3.9. Our community development we spend a lot of money on, a little over 2 million. Our education, 2.8 million. We want to see money spent there. Our Indian government support is 1.9. Health programs, 1.3. And other band programs, 3.2. Then you see this number at the bottom, amortization. So when I was talking about the net book value of the assets and depreciating assets over time, in just this 1 year, we have $1.3 million of amortization / depreciation. So that's a big number, and that affects your bottom line because it's an expense, even though it's not a cash expense this year, it was a cash expense in other years when you purchased assets. So that hits your bottom line in not a very positive manner, but when you look at the assets that you have to look at the full picture. So we have the 19.9 million in expenses versus 20.6 last year. And so when we pull all these numbers together, our total revenues minus our expenses, because our expenses are more than the revenues, that's what gives us the deficit. And then our unexpended funds and the deficit for the year. We kind of looked at those numbers a minute ago. All right, so then we have our statement of consolidated accumulated surplus. This statement just takes the accumulated surplus at the end of the previous year and adds the current year deficit to it, which gives you the accumulated surplus going forward. So previously we had 14.9 million. This year we have the deficit, which we've seen this number a couple of times now, of 1.7. So that reduces our accumulated surplus to 13.2, which we saw in the statement of financial position. Then we have the statement of change in net debt. And this statement is just basically a measure of the financial strength of the organization. It lets you know the cash and liquid assets that you have at your disposal to continue to carry on services and how they changed in the current year. At the end of the previous year, you had a negative 7.9 million, and at the end of this year, we have a negative 8.4 million. Cash flows. This statement, and again, if you look in the actual printed, does everybody have a copy of the consolidated financial statements? Were they available for everybody? Okay. So if you look at the cash flows, and everything that I'm doing here is very summarized, when you actually look at the consolidated audit, you'll see lots of different numbers in the cash flows, in all of these statements. And this basically lets you know how the assets and liabilities changed and how they affected the cash position. So your cash went up from a negative 190,000 to 105 in this fiscal year. So if you don't pay your suppliers, that actually keeps cash in your bank. If INAC doesn't send you money when they were supposed to send you money, then that's cash not in the bank. So if you can think of it that way, it makes a little bit more sense. All right, so then as you can see here, the notes to the financial statements, pages 9 to 33, it is a lot of pages, a lot of information. Every number in the consolidated financial statement on the statement of financial position has a note reference. It gives you more detail of what those things are. They're a very integral part of financial statements. They give you a lot of information. In the notes, we also talk about the various forms of INAC funding, that kind of thing, so people can understand what we're saying when we're saying set funding, fixed funding, because most people don't understand what that means. The notes to the financial statements provide further explanation to the numbers in the financial statements, and every number, as I said, has a note reference. That note will provide detail or explanation of what that number means and what it's made up of. All right, then what we have to do as part of our consolidated financial statement, again, these groupings, our claims in Indian government, ECDEV, those kinds of things, we actually have to have a page in the audit for each one of these, and again, in the audit, it'll have more detail of what these things are. But this is summarized. So claims in Indian government, we had 6.5 million in revenue, 3.9 in expenses. That leaves us with 2.5 million. We transferred out to other programs 591,000 and amortization 950, which leaves us in this claims in Indian government current surplus of a little over $1 million versus 2 million from last year. Community development. So that's things like roads, that kind of stuff, maintenance of things. Revenue of 1.4, expenses of a little over 2 million. So we have a deficit of 651,000. We had unexpended funds in one of those programs of 84,000, so we have to take that away. We transferred from other programs into here, 293, and then we have a big number for amortization of 413. So we have a current deficit of 855, which is down from last year. Schedule 3 is ECDEV. So this is, you get some monies from, a small amount of monies from YTC, but this is your business initiatives as well. So we had negative revenue in our, in these programs together, 560. We had expenses of 363. So that gives us a deficit of 923,000. We transferred a little bit from other programs of 110. Then we also have our favorite number for amortization, 418. So we have a deficit of 1.2 versus 3.7 last year. Education, this is a very important part. We want to spend our education dollars on education. And so we had 2.9 in revenue. We didn't quite spend it all, 2.8. We had 139,000 left, but we've set up unexpended funds of 140,576, so we have just a little wee deficit there. So we have this much in education programs to spend in this 17-18 fiscal year. Indian government support, revenues of 1.5, expenses of 1.9. That gives us a deficit of 403. We transferred in from other programs 185 to give us a deficit of 218,415, down considerably from last year. Lands management, we don't get a whole lot of revenue here, 139,000. We spent 131, so we had a little bit of a surplus of $8,300 here. Social development, another important part of every band. We get 1.7 million. We spent 1.7. We had a very small surplus of 9,506 in social development. Indian registration, we don't get a whole lot of money for this. This is the... Yes?
Sorry to interrupt. We're going to do a door prize for officers.
Oh,
Just
okay.
give me 30 seconds.
Sure, absolutely.
Good morning. This is for all our people watching live stream. There's a number going to flash on the screen. First person to phone that number will get a $100 MasterCard or Visa prepaid, and I will make sure that you get it once you phone in. So off reserve, people watching live stream, the number is going to be flashed and phone in. First caller wins. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, our Indian registration, this is for when you get your status cards or when there's a birth, and that has to be all, those people have to be registered. You only get $27,000 for that program. We spent $41,000. We have a deficit of $13,000. Transferred in a small amount from other programs of $3,000. So we have a current deficit of $10,000 here. Our governance and institutions of governance. We have $55,000 here. This is usually special projects that INAC has funded. We spent $55,525. We have a little deficit of $525. Our health programs, that's all the health programs together. Revenue of 1.3, expenses of 1.3, a little more than 1.3. Deficit of 42,000 in health. We had a surplus last year. CMHC housing. We have revenues, which would include the rent that people pay as well as the CMHC subsidies, 996. Expenses of 803. It looks like we have a surplus there of 193, but we have that our favorite amortization, 507,000. That's the amortization / depreciation on all those CMHC homes. So we actually have a deficit in this program of 314,000. Other band programs, so this is where if programs don't fit under all the other categories, they go under band programs. So we have revenues of 2.2, expenses of 3.2, giving us a deficit of a little over $1 million. We transferred in 950 from other programs with a little bit of amortization here to give us a current deficit of 112,000. And amortization, this is just, there's no revenue to offset amortization. It's 1.3 million. So this is basically a summary. Ed, this isn't showing very well on there. Is it the whole wider thing? Like, wake up, Ed. Wake up. Okay. So basically, this is just a summary. This isn't really required, but we do it in these consolidated audit because it's really good information. It gives you your revenues, again, by the groupings. So all on one page. It gives you the expenses, so you can see where your highest revenues are and where your expenses are. And then if we've transferred. And then I don't know if you can see that very well, but then you can see by program all on one page where the surpluses and deficits are. So I'm not going to read all of the numbers, but all of this adds up to this. All the expenses add up to that. Our transfers always have to equal 0. And our deficit is made up of some surpluses and deficits by program areas. And that's it. Okay, so on page 2, does anybody remember what I talked about? I'm just kidding. Just seeing if everybody's awake. It's kind of boring, dry stuff. Sorry. It is what it is. Any questions? You're happy? Oh, I have a question in the back.
Is there any discrepancies in money unaccounted for? Millions that's supposed to have been stolen. Is there anything in your findings to clarify this? It's got to be clarified once and for all, and this is the place, and
Okay.
you are the people to clarify.
Ed, do you want to answer?
For the information of the council.
Well, when we audit, we certainly don't audit every single number. We'd be at the band office 365 days a year. But we do go through processes and see whether things have been properly approved. We do a random testing. We do extensive work on individual programs.
Yeah, I understand that, but
So,
it's unaccounted for.
No.
Money that was taken.
No.
Or any other.
no,
That
there
should
was,
be verified once and for all.
there was,
And I point that to the councils over there that were pounding the table, accusing of the past administration of stealing millions. There's your clarification. And if you want to go ahead and pursue it, there is court. You will be charged. Defamation of character, slander. And this has got to stop. You had elders up here talking about unity. The prayer for the elders. We're not listening to them. We're doing something else. We're going still ahead hunting. Let's move forward. Never mind the past. We made mistakes. We're going to make mistakes in the future. We'll all make mistakes. And why do you have to start pointing fingers of people and accusing people? 3 people that are deceased. Are you accusing those people? Let them rest in peace. Accusing people of them stealing millions. And you know who I mean. I'm going to mention them once, and that's it. Let them rest in peace. Lloyd E. Wayne and Greeley. You gotta quit this pointing. Come on, let's move ahead. If you've got a personal agenda, do it outside the council. Go and approach a person over there. Never mind calling secret meetings and leading your green councilors. Misleading them and feeding them lies and everything. Come on, let's move ahead. And you talk about drugs. That's what you were going to do when you first come in your mandate. You're taking VCR, putting letters. No. What happened? You still have drug dealers here. You have some sitting in here. And I'm not scared to say so. And you have some on council that are still dealing with drugs. And I'm not afraid to say so. We want to clean this, let's start from the top down. And when we said FSI last election year, it's a triangle that should be upside down. It's the membership pointing down to the leadership, telling the leadership what to do. They put you there, you listen to it. And traveling all the time. There's nothing in the office. This is a service delivery office we have running. And where's that service? No, we can't find it in the council. They're all busy traveling, flashing pictures on Facebook and everything. Come on, let's grow up. You want to be leaders? Lead. And there's your clarification. Where's the million that are missing? And posting people program spending on it. Is that right for a council to do that? No, it's not. And that's going to be looked into. There's laws, we got protections too. So a lot of things got to be here. And elders that are going around buying young women. You know? Come on, let's grow up, let's clean our own backyard. There's a lot of things we can do here. You've got potential. You've got young people young leaders up there with education. Start using it. Use it the proper way. Don't listen to negative people. Lead you wrong and still trying to go in the past. Witch hunting. Personal agendas. No. Gotta move ahead. We have resources. We set you guys up this last past administration with all the millions in the bank. Trust, I agree with Chief. Maybe we can amend that trust. Have more money to spend in the arena. All those things I agree with. But let's do it. Let's have some implementation here. Implementation. You know, action speaks louder than words. Don't talk from your damn heart. Okay? Thank you very much. And if anybody wants to, go on and talk to me on a personal basis, I will.
Are there any other questions?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not here to make enemies or anything like that, but I have a lot of documentation. This is going through this formalities. This person that just got through talking had 36 years in this system here. Was there any improvements? There's nothing. Look at the reserve. It doesn't take educated person to look around what's going on. And you know what? I've been on the outside for so many years. You know, housing is in damage, and $160 million. And we had soup kitchens. You know, is that something to brag about? Is that talking from the behind? You know, this is the truth. We never had an opportunity to speak out the real issues of this reserve. Where do we stand? I mean, you can point fingers and say, this and that and stuff, but the thing is, what I would like to do right now is to put a motion on the floor for a forensic audit, which would clear up a lot of this stuff here about talking and stuff like that, because these people here that handled this $160 million. This can't be this soap kitchens and new garbage containers. This is a disgrace. What's been going on for the past 36 years? I watched this going on outside. Things like that, nepotism, favoritism, and stuff like that, and bullying. This is wrong, people. How many times do we want to put people where they're approachable, professional people? You go to the band office, you get sworn up because it's from the leadership that gives them instructions. They're opposition. I'm a band member. And I know I'm going to offend a lot of people because this is legit. This is not horrible. I'm not calling anybody out. And I open a door for kids to sue me from saying that, I can outright say this is they are leading. Really, they are leading. And they've done it to us big time. $160 million. On account of this, one ledger there, $5 million, which is very disturbing. Unaccounted for. I never had a band assembly, never got no direction from anybody, any of the people. This is really scary. And maddening. I sit here frustrated, just like it's all nice, fun and dandy, things like that, going through formality. This is what's going to happen now. 36 years of this life, I don't believe this is a waste of time. I believe that what we we really need is answers here. You know, it's so much frustration for myself. You know, like you could sit on a big bank conference, the children's future is money that you can do. They don't realize that that's what I'm trying to stop. So, set a future for them. Because now with a big bank account and stuff like that, but what about the children? What are they going to inherit? Looking at it right now, nothing. Roads, housing, everything like that. People on drugs, things like that. And these people have 36 years. You know, they should be professionals. They should have established this a long time ago. And all this back and, you know, never mind. It's going to change. It's going to change. It's not going to change. We just want it to ride out. Ride out and be the dog. Lead us in the dark. Where is that 160 million? You know, that's a lot of money. And here we have old kids living in the dark, schools, things like that. And that's not definition of character or anything like that. These people have done it openly. You didn't have to reach that for election and bought get in and things like that. This is not really democracy. For goodness sake, let's break that. And you know what? I can talk here and say, I don't know this, I don't do that, and things like that. What good is that? If we don't really face the real issues here, there's a lot of people that will be offended because what I'm saying, because that, you know, well, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I endure this whole thing watching these people come from disgraceful to criminal. And you know, and like talking like that, a leader saying he's talking from your behind, you know, stuff like that. That's just an example of how they can conduct themselves all through these years. You know, just their own favors and unqualified people that are working out there with astronomical wages. And we aren't supposed to talk about it. You know, come on, let's break this and get some answers here. Let's get a forensic audit. And I will read it for everything. The real answer will be there. You know, the chief is not good at defense, but I mean, people that are associated with him might don't agree with him. So this, I just encourage, you know, let's get some real answers. Like, I mean, here, this audits here and stuff, like, how many people understand that? You know, like qualified, unqualified. I understand that, but how many people are interested in that? Where is it going from here? What is it going to do? You know, and I just like to, you know, thank people that they're out here to really get the answers. And that's what I'm here for. And you know, I sat back and held my peace for how many years watching this regime that just went by. $20,000 a month. $300,000 a year. You know, that's ridiculous. Nobody's worth that much. If they were successful and doing something right on reserve, it would show, but nothing is showing. And I'm here, I've been here for a long time. And so this is bad, frustrating, things like that, and so I hope, you know, things will start to turn around and people read, ask questions. Where did that 160 million move? You know, like, I mean, everybody's doing this. You know, we can be silent and everything like that. And there's nothing to there. That's perfectly awesome. Right. That's, I won't be confident about the time. Thank you.
I was told I could come here and say what I have to say, and you don't have to like what I have to say, but I'm trying to get my grandson back into chief education here. I've heard counselors, I heard the chief talk about how great education is for the kids, their future, and they're our future. But my grandson's being refused to be let back into school. Refused, I thought colonial days were over when they could ask who, if they could ask who to go to the bathroom, if he could look a certain way. And
excuse me, Tweety, Can we keep that one for education? Bring it up when they have the education part? Yeah, but it's coming up in the agenda, and right now we're dealing with finances, and then you can stand up and sit. And when education comes up, we'll give you the mic. Okay? Is there somebody else that likes to speak before? One more guy here. Okay, and there's one more over there. Squirrel. This is for you guys.
His comment first.
Okay, this way, this guy wants to answer the Cowboys' request there.
I just want to make a comment. Can you hear me okay at the back? Just make a comment. When we're talking about the audit today, we're talking about what happened in the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2017. That's what we're here to talk about. But just to speak a little bit broader, the question was about the $160 million and where did it go? Well, that is managed. It's under the Legacy Trust, and it's managed by the BMO. And we do the audit for the BMO on that part as well. And on December 31st, 2016, the amount of investments was $131,480. So out of the $160 million, 131 is still invested and earning money and so forth for you. So the 160 has been accounted for. There would have been money that was drawn down and so forth and covered in other audits and so forth, but out of the 160 million, 131 million is still there.
Hello. Question there. You got that in black and white? Because a lot of these numbers don't make sense to us. Like it says right on here, Cote Resources. There's a missing on the audit. Cote Resources, Cote Market Development, Duck Mountain Resources, Duck Mountain Resources LP Incorporated. Those are all missing on the audit. And Cote Resources got millions of dollars, $4.1 million that they got, and then somehow there's no more money. There hasn't been a cent that came back from Cote Resources Limited, but we still keep injecting money into this dead horse. And I was going to ask you about your audit. How come we're missing a lot of the stuff that should have been in there? That people don't want to understand. They don't most people don't understand just the numbers you presented. The more of the interest is the chief and council salaries, staff, management, senior staff, and the auditor's letter, recommendations as to how we could improve our system. According to what I've been reading here, there's duplicate vendors for certain invoices, and there's accounts payable clerk would benefit from training. These are things that pension reconciliation of numbers is not there. Like for the pension, social assistance is not reconciled. General ledger accounting descriptions change completely different description, leading to misleading financial statements. That's the kind of thing we want to hear. The thing that you're presenting there is not really for people to understand. Sure, numbers mean lots. We went into debt again. In other words, we're going further, and we keep pushing back the debt. One day it's like pushing a spring back. If you keep pushing that back, that one day it's going to let go and it's going to be, okay, Cody, man, what happened to your money? We want our money back. The bank's going to come back and tell us we want our money back. And how many of us look at that? We don't look at that. You presenting all these numbers really don't mean too much. You should have put this letter, that management letter, to our people. Because when you write that letter, you direct it to the people. To the membership of Cote, it says. Not chief of council, or we'll keep information away from you guys. Recording of revenue, monthly reconciliation of bank accounts. We don't have that. According to your letter here, that's the kind of information that you should be telling the people, so that our bank will improve. We have to improve. You as an outsider is not going to come here and straighten it out for us. All you're telling us, oh, I'm doing my general accounting, my accounting business counts on your check for December 31st to do your audit for you. I'll get paid, but it's not helping us here until you tell us what we have to fix, not what numbers are. Sure, we went into debt big time. But that, you're not doing your job when we spent $1 million on consultants. Who the hell are the consultants? Who's worth $1 million? When I first came back here, I was told, oh, don't go there to try to get rich to be a counselor. I've never tried to get rich. I never gained. I'm still the same place I was when I came here. But we have to find out what happened. Tell us what happened. Get that resource limited. Millions and millions of dollars we could have had. Look at our houses on the reserve. You drive down that highway, there's boarded up windows. You drive in a village, there's boarded up windows. All that $10 million worth of land we could have bought. That we would have made a difference for our community. We would have had land, a land basis that never loses dollar value. Except we got a oil well sitting over there that looks like a bed frame, couple bed frames welded together. And our lawyer took us there. A lawyer that is supposed to do good for the people. Oh, I'm for the people. I'm going to help you people. And he's sticking his foot in a lot of other doors. How is he going to help us? How is he going to help the people? How is he going to help our grandchildren? Until we find out what happened, we've got to draw a good picture. You can't move forward. You can't make a bed with a bunch of stuff in it and expect to sleep good at night. That's what you got to look at. And you explain to us, how come these things are not in the package? The people should have knew what they were looking at. What they wanted to know. How do we fix our problem without having a white man come here and tell us, oh, you guys are doing, you're doing awesome. You went into debt $2 million. Oh, you're awesome. How do we fix it? How do we fix it? We had so many times people walking around on the street. I walked the street to ask, what can help you people? Listen to us. Take your time. Take time to recognize us. But you were presenting the audit, you didn't present it right. You have to, all those numbers you got put there, don't mean nothing to me, don't mean nothing to somebody else, except what's in the bank. At the end of the day, when you go to your bank, what do you check? Your balance, right? What is our balance? What did you spend? What did you spend your dollars on? That's what it all boils down to. We are a business here, and we have to run it as a business. It's not a family affair, nor is it anybody's personal property. It's ours. We spent $1 million on vehicles. Where the hell are our vehicles? Where do we have them? I never see a Cote van vehicle. Want a sign on it? I see heavy equipment. That's awesome. You can get your yard cleaned. When you have to buy a tractor to clean your yard. Here we got a community thing. Tell us how we could fix ourselves, not, oh, this number here. You guys went into that period, and here, and here, and here. Tell us how we could fix our programs. How do we make it better for us? Not for you, not for the people out in the community, out in CGCEC. because they reap a lot of our benefits. I walk the street, they say, oh, you're Indian, don't you guys have a reserve to move all this stuff on? That's sad. When we walk that town, they look at us like, you guys are foreigners here, but that's our land. Remember that, that's our land.
I myself would like to say a few words. It's nice to see a whole bunch of people here and starting our day off with prayer and stuff, which is important thing in our lives and the sickness and our life. And I was listening to some of the concerns I have myself as grandma. Like, I hear that, like, our leaders, like, I know you want to do the best for our people and that, and I would ask our people when they're going to take some more money, I don't know if they're going to ask for more payouts. Like, I think of my 28 grandchildren, like, we all got 20,000, and if we get some money out of this trust fund, like say 41, 43,000, whatever it is, put in a plan to build a church and a rink and that, I would say, like, until you know what happened in a back, and then you could easily tell us, like, yeah, everything is fine, but until we see it in black and white, and actually having an audit would actually show, a forensic audit would find us and clarify a lot of stuff, like say the blaming and appointing, like James Stevenson said. Like, I would suggest a forensic audit on the past just to clarify a lot of things. Because as you know, like, it's the not knowing and wondering that gets me. Like, if I were to see it in black and white, it would make a big difference to me. Until then, I say do not touch any of our money that is in the trust, because we had our chance of getting that 20,000, and I want to see my grandchildren get that too. And how far we're going backwards. Like, if you take that whatever 41 million to purchase all these stuff you want, like you should. How are we going to pay our debt or all our loans? Like, I'd like to know how much loans we have out there. I don't know what the interest is, but we can't. We have to keep that money in there to pay this off. We could wait until we get out of the negative, but I suggest that we don't do that. And then with that, I heard that Chief George had mentioned about building the church, like at the band office there, to fix that. I would think that's fixable. I do not think that's fixable. If you want to build a church, I think it's got to start up from the ground. And then we see our leaders here also doing random drug tests. I don't know if the person is still there, perhaps, like maybe the employees or anybody that wants to go should go do a drug test. It's open to anybody. I really go up there because I'm a band member. And I honestly ask our leaders, as they're all here, do a forensic audit. Just so it'll clarify, we'll know what happened instead of pointing fingers. We don't want that. And like some of the stuff that we're in the thing, like I went and steer off some of the leaders, what it's not an audit, and I took it upon ourselves to put this at the table. If anybody wants this, what our leaders and some of our employees need. And we need to know a lot. It's not, if anybody, I don't know how many copies I have left, I put that on myself. So with that, thank you very much. I would hope that people go for a forensic audit, because we need to know. Thank you very much.
Okay, this gentleman here, he was wanting to answer. Yeah, just a minute. This gentleman here wanted to answer Squirrel's questions, and then he's going to answer your questions. He has some answers for Squirrel there on his questions he asked for him. What he's asking is, after somebody talks and you have a question about his finances, he's asking if he could answer that person before the next person talks. Okay, so he could answer your guys' questions. If you could respect the gentleman for that, thank you.
Thank you. I could certainly understand some of the frustration, because we struggle with how should we present the information and how much should we present? As I said, there's like 200 pages. If we went through everything, we would be here a long time. So first of all, the audits for the CRL, Duck Mountain, and Cote markets, they are represented in the consolidated audit and in our PowerPoint presentation. So we've touched on them, but we haven't gone into the detail today. But in this 200 pages, we do have audits for CRL, Cote markets, and Duck Mountain Resorts. So everything has been audited. You ask about the $1 million in consulting fees. Where did it go? Okay, we do the audit. We take your records. We start with those. Then we make adjustments, and we do certain things to get them in line with generally accepted accounting principles. Then any adjustments we make go back to the First Nation, and they're on your computer. So you don't need the auditor that costs you a fair bit of money to answer a lot of your questions. The information is there within your finance department. So this 200 pages of audit information, which we got down to 20 pages or so, there's another probably 100,000 pages of information that's in the finance department. So how do you actually communicate? The biggest problem here is communication, I think, and trying to understand from an audit point of view and an accounting point of view, every single thing has been audited as it should. Every single thing has met the qualifications except for the qualification of the qualified audit because of the Cote resources. And it doesn't matter what you did, you would have that qualification because you don't know the value just following general auditing guidelines. You don't know, you can't put a value on the oil and gas until you've been producing oil and gas for a number of months. Then you could get a professional to do an estimate. So I think it comes down to we're available to answer any questions and to present any information. We could have another session to go through the audit of Cote Resources or Duck Mountain Resorts. It's up to Chief and Council to kind of invite us and ask us to present what they want us to present. Okay.
We have a question. It's actually a phone-in question from Winnipeg, Manitoba, from one of our band members, Dan Cote. He asked, how far did you go back for the audits? And he's referring to after our land settlement came in, how far do they go back? That's a question that came via the cell over live stream, so we're making history today. So that's our first question ever. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Audits are done every year, so basically since you got your main settlement, there have been audits done every single year, so they would be on file. So audits are done every year, so I guess to answer the question, you could go back and review those audits for as long as you had copies available, so they're on file someplace.
Hello, I've been asked to ask about rented audit. Like we got new council, 10 on you, we got a new chief. All you guys, should be taking direction from the Cote people, and I do believe that we do need a forensic audit. A forensic audit will open a lot of people, guys, as to what has been happening with band funds regarding our leaders. Band funds or band money being controlled by lawyer Ron Maurice. We got him under investigation from many different counts of, and we accused him of many things. But he's also being investigated further on for 5 wrongs he's done against the Cote people. Some of the information you dig up on this man, he helped himself and oil well Cote for a certain amount of dollars. And he sold this oil well to Cote. Then that person that got the money for the well took that $1.2 billion and went and paid $49,000 for that oil well and then to deal with Cote. You know, how can this man be our lawyer and doing such crooked things on our behalf, stealing, and our leaders are letting him do it, whether they know it or not. And I've been doing 5 years now, warning the people of Cote of the wrongs that have been happening here on Cote from previous government and this lawyer. I mean, he gets a lot of money for land claim settlements, and then he claims a bonus without even being offered one. He takes millions. He took out extra $5 million this last time. We are in need of justice for our people. And a lot of people have been speaking out. Nobody wants to hear it because, oh, we got 20,000. What are you talking about? You think it's good? No. We got 60 million in missing funds. We don't know where it went. It should be all on Cote, but it's not. A lot of it is in Ron Maurice's in his law office, being controlled by our so-called oil wells. That's where there's no oil. Well, I heard there's oil in this new one, but there's nothing in the other ones. We bought empty oil wells. And I've been telling Cote about this, and what did the people say? Who was stupid enough to buy empty oil wells? No, our leaders are not that stupid. Oh, well, they are. Or they're very good crooks. They're very good crooks. Because he controls the money that he sends to the old chief and council. He sends them on trips. He sends them on expeditions around, look at other oil wells and say, okay, we're doing this to see how we can work with our people to look for oil wells and get oil together, and some crazy idea about reverse osmosis, the water that's in the oil wells, and we'll get millions out of that. You're crazy talk. Selling you crazy things for millions. And this guy is still getting paid. And the people of Cote, you people of Cote all know this. Because I've been saying it for 5 years. I know you know something about it. Get up and do something about it. This chief and council, just ask them. They'll do it. They'll do it. Because they say they're accountable. They want to be accountable to the people of Cote. They want to be transparent. Transparency has to do with telling people, hey, look, that man ripped you off. He stole from you. Not say, oh no, you gotta hide it. You can't do that anymore. Our people are broke, no money, and we have a lot of hope, but nobody wants to help fill those hopes. Deal with this person that's stealing from us. And deal with the people that stole from us. They're going to deal with drug dealers and drug addicts and everything and say, oh, come out of here, and we need those people that are stealing from the Cote people out of here also, because it is because of them that we are poor. Well, we should all be happy and having fun, all of us having jobs, doing good things. Our new chief and council should have good transfer, man. With all that money that should have been there, that was taken. But now they have to work off all the bills they added up. Millions of dollars they have to pay back. Talk to your chief and council, tell them we need a forensic audit, especially on the properties that we own. Of course the books are going to be clean when you go into the band office and say, okay, we did a forensic audit there. There's nothing wrong with them. Okay, what about our $160 million? How much was that gone? A lot of that innocent money is gone. That's what they took. A lot of the innocent money, they borrowed on it for 10 years. We can't do nothing. All these people, talk to your leaders, the ones that you voted in. Talk to them. Thanks.
Good afternoon. It's very good dialogue. I'm really touched by the compassion that we have. You know, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. You know, as a chief and our council and all the frustrations that have been building up from the past, everything works out for the good. Everything will come to a reality for the hope that we've been seeking, for the answers that we've been requesting. And I'm sure that I don't think a forensic audit will do. But what I'm going to propose is that our financial department get all these BCRs, all these expenses that were done, because a forensic audit is going to cost a lot of money. Who's going to pay for it? I know, that's what I mean. Like, but we have a chance to put our plan together. Yeah, I understand that. But can you see? Yeah, okay, yeah, I understand. But what I'm trying to say is, the people that were the primary signers are gone. Our community's in pain. We'll get the answers that you need. We'll get the answers that you need, but we also have to provide a plan. People want us out of this hole. People want us build homes, and I presented that plan to you guys. You know, we've done a lot of work together over the year. And see, we are looking for hope. And as a chief, I have to listen to you guys. What I want to propose, let us put that audit you request together, and if you're not satisfied, then we'll go your direction. Because it's going to cost us money, it's going to hold us back. I'm just suggesting. But it's not only it's not only you guys that have to vote on it. It also has to be the other members in the communities. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll sit down at the council after the band meeting. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's settled. Let's take a break.
So we have one more question here. I got a question.
Everybody
He's
stop.
been, wicked acts, like, one of my best friends.
Talk louder, eh?
Talk louder.
Oh, I got a question, like, for the chief, like, there's a certain member of your council there that's been going around trying to pull, like, sexual moves or, like, trying to buy a person that I know really well, and, like, I was wondering why this could happen, you know?
Bring that stuff up here and talk like that.
10-minute break.
Ha ha ha!